So, very good morning, good afternoon, good evening everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the tissues. So, group of the cells makes the tissues. So, what is tissues? Tissue is a group of cells together makes the tissues, and human body is made up of 4 different types of tissues. So, first one is your epithelial tissues, epithelial tissues. There is connective tissues, connective tissues. There is a muscular tissues, and there is a nervous tissues. So, human body is made up of 4 different types of tissues. And what is tissue? Tissue is group of cells together makes the tissues. So, human body is made up of 4 different types of tissues: epithelial tissues, connective tissues, muscular tissues, nervous tissues. So, epithelial tissues, every tissue have their special features which make it different from the others. So, what are the special feature of epithelial tissues? Epithelial tissues, there is a cells are tightly joined together in the epithelial tissues, even there is no vascular systems. So, that is the special feature of epithelial tissues. Special feature about connective tissue is connective tissues, of course it is a tissue, so it has its cells, but outside the cells there is a lot of material, and that we call extracellular matrix, which contains proteins, fibers. So, that is the special feature of connective tissues, and connective tissues provide the mechanical and functional support to all types of tissues. That is another special features about your connective tissues. Muscular tissues, special features which make it different from others: it contains a contractile proteins, whereas none of the other tissues contains a contractile proteins. So, contractile proteins like actin and myosin, which helps in the contractions. So, that contractile proteins only muscular tissues contains, not the other tissues. Nervous tissues, special feature which make it different from the other is nervous tissues do the sensations, whereas none of other tissues do the sensory systems, right. So, these are the special features about each and every tissues which make it different from the others. So, one by one we are going to discuss. So, first we are going to discuss about epithelial tissues, then we will discuss about connective, then muscular, then nervous tissues. So, what are epithelial tissues, what are their functions, what are the classifications of epithelial tissues, that we are going to discuss in detail. So, epithelial tissues. Epithelial tissues. So, as I said, epithelial tissues, what is its functions? First, it cover the internal and external part of the bodies, external lining of the bodies, right. So, it provide the protections. First function is provide the protections, right. It also helps in the secretions, because in GITs, gastrointestinal systems, there is a layers of the cell together, and whenever food reach to the stomach, so these cells will release HCl, hydrochloric acids, which helps in the digestion of food. So, this is the lining of epithelial tissues. This is epithelial tissues. So, it also provide your secretions. It also helps in the absorption as well, because when your food material break down into smaller particles, so that particulars your glucose, your other substances has to be absorbed and reach to the systemic circulations. For example, this is your systemic blood circulations, this is your blood circulations, systemic circulations. So, it also absorption will also happen through these tissues, and tissue is epithelial tissues. So, absorption is also happening through these tissues. So, that is also another role of your epithelial tissue. It provides the protections, it provides secretions, it provides absorptions, it helps in the absorptions, right. Then another function is it also helps in the sensation. Like earlier, if you remember, we talk about whenever our, for example, blood pressure drop, so in the blood vessels there are a particular sensor that we call baroreceptor which will sense it. So baroreceptors, where the baroreceptors are, where baroreceptors are on your epithelial tissues. And entire cardiovascular system, entire blood supply is lined by the endothelium, and that endothelium we call endothelium, sorry, that epithelial tissue we call endothelium. So what is endothelium? Endothelium is epithelial tissues of your blood vessels. So all the blood vessels, this is your, for example, blood vessels, these are lined by cells, tightly packed cells. That is a special feature of epithelial tissue, as I told. So this we call endothelium, right? So endothelium distributions will happens, your sensations will happens. So these epithelial tissues are function is protection, secretions, absorption, sensation. So these are the different functions of your epithelial tissues, right? So epithelial tissue कौन से tissues हैं? Tissue क्या होता है? Tissue होता है कि cells को together, when cells combine together it makes the tissue. तो tissue कितने तरह के हैं? 4 तरह के, epithelial, connective tissues, muscular tissues और nervous tissues. फिर बात आती है कि कौन सी चीज़ किस टिश्यू को डिफ्रेंशिएट करती है, कौन सा स्पेशल फीचर है. तो एपिथेलियल टिश्यू का स्पेशल फीचर ये है कि एपिथेलियल टिश्यूज में जो सेल आपस में ज्वाइन करते हैं वो बहुत टाइटली ज्वाइन टुगेदर्स, इवन देर इज नो वेस्कुलर सिस्टम्स, राइट. तो इतने टाइटली ज्वाइन करते हैं. दैट इज अ स्पेशल फीचर अबाउट द एपिथेलियल टिश्यूज. व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट स्पेशल फीचर ऑफ कनेक्टिव टिश्यू, स्पेशल फीचर ऑफ कनेक्टिव टिश्यू का स्पेशल फीचर क्या है? स्पेशल फीचर ये है कि इट प्रोवाइड फंक्शनल एंड मैकेनिकल सपोर्ट to all other types of tissues, nervous tissues को, your muscular tissues को, as well as for the epithelial, because below the epithelial tissues there is a connective tissues. As I said, epithelium में there is no vascular system, so how they are getting the energy? They are getting the energy through the connective tissues. एंड मस्कुलर टिश्यूज़ की जो स्पेशल फीचर है वो मैंने आपको बताया, कॉन्ट्रैक्टाइल प्रोटीन्स होती है जो कि और किसी टिश्यू में नहीं होती, जैसे एक्टिन एंड मायोसिन विच हेल्प्स इन द कॉन्ट्रैक्शंस. whether it is your smooth muscular tissues, whether it is your cardiac smooth muscles, whether it is your skeletal muscles, right. And nervous tissue का special feature, it sense, it do the sensations, whereas other tissues will not do. So we are talking about epithelial. epithelial की मैंने आपको function बताया कि वो protections, because आपकी external surfaces और internal surfaces are covered by the epithelium. आपकी ब्लड वेसल जो सारी कवर्स हैं वो आपके एपिथेलियम से कवर है, उस एपिथेलियम को हम बोलते हैं एंडोथेलियम, राइट. इट हेल्प्स इन द एब्जॉर्प्शंस. जो जीआईटी की लाइनिंग जो कवर अप है दैट इज आल्सो बाय द एपिथेलियम. सो जो भी एब्जॉर्प्शन होनी है या सिक्रीशंस होनी है दैट इज हैपनिंग थ्रू द एपिथेलियम. सो इट आल्सो हेल्प्स इन द एब्जॉर्प्शंस, secretions and sensation as well. So now epithelial tissues, when we divide the types of epithelial tissues, so classifications we can do based on the shape of the cells. What are the different shapes of the cells which tightly join together, which makes the epithelial, right. So depending upon first classification of epithelial tissues, you can do based on shape of the cells, shape of cells. Another classifications you can do based on layers of the cells, right. So these are the two major classifications by which you can do the classifications of epithelial tissues. First one is shape of the cells. If this is your membrane, right, basement membrane, this is your basement membrane, and on basement membrane there is a thick layer of, and these are your flat cells. So this kind of epithelium we call squamous epithelium. Squamous epithelium. When your flat cells join together, that is we call squamous epithelium. When your cells are in equal height and equal width and length and arranged packed together, this is we called cuboidal epithelium, cuboidal epithelium, right? When your cells are height is more like this kind of cells when packed together, this is we called cuboidal epithelium. Cuboidal, sorry, not cuboidal, this is the columnar epithelium, columnar epithelium, right? Columnar epithelium. Yeah. So columnar epithelium. So depending upon the shape of the cells, we are dividing the epithelium. अगर आपके फ्लैट सेल अरेंज है तो उसको हम बोलते हैं स्क्वेमस एपिथेलियम. अगर आपके सेल्स जो इक्वल हाइट और इक्वल लेंथ के हैं, क्यूब की तरह हैं, तो उनको बोलते हैं क्यूबाइडल एपिथेलियम. अगर जो कॉलम की तरह हैं, मीन्स उनकी हाइट ज़्यादा है, तो उनको बोलते हैं कॉलमनर एपिथेलियम, राइट. सो डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द शेप ऑफ द सेल्स वी आर डिवाइडिंग द एपिथेलियम. नाउ बेस्ड ऑन द लेयर, the cells can be in a single layer, cells can be in multiple layer, right. So single layer, if cells are arranged as a single layers on the basement membrane, so that we call simple epithelium. So name this epithelium, it's a simple squamous epithelium. Name this, if someone asks you to name this epithelium, there is a arrangement of the cells and all the cells are sitting on the basement membrane, right. So this kind of epithelium is single layer. And this is the simple, and which simple? It's a simple cuboidal epithelium, right. If on the basement membrane cells are tightly joined together and cells height is more, so that we call columnar epithelium. So this epithelium I will name as simple columnar epithelium, right. So these, as I said, these cells can be in a layer as well, right. So if your epithelium is in, as I said, if it's in a single layer, all the cells are on basement membrane. This is your basement membrane. So this is we call simple squamous epithelium, If your cells are in equal height and equal width and in cubes, that we call simple, name this epithelium simple cuboidal epithelium, If your cells, as I said, height is more and cells are joined together tightly like this, so this we call, if someone asks you to name this epithelium and all the cells are sitting on the basement membrane, so that we call simple columnar epithelium, simple columnar epithelium. Now as I said, it can be in layer as well. So if it's in layer, if these are the cells, flat cells, right, tightly packed, this is epithelium and this is squamous epithelium, but this is a second layer, then there is another layer, then another layer. So if someone asks you name this epithelium, so this epithelium is stratified epithelium, So when there is a more than one layer, we call it stratified. And you know, second layers will not attach to basement membrane. That is another feature of your stratified epithelium, when your cells are arranged in a layers. So if someone asks you to name this epithelium, so this name of this epithelium is stratified squamous epithelium. This is stratified squamous epithelium when you have a multiple layers. And what are these cells? These cells are flat cell. So flat cell we call squamous. And stratified word, why we are using? Stratified is the word we are using when cells are in layers. Simple words we are using when there is a single layers, simple. So instead of simple, when your cells are in multiple layer, we are using the word stratified. So that's why we name it stratified, and these are the flat cell, then it's a squamous, stratified squamous epithelium, right? If there is a cells with equal height and equal width and they are arranged tightly together, then there is a second layers, then there is a another layers. So name this epithelium. So this epithelium name is, again it's a stratified. Why stratified? Because cells are in layers. So stratified, but it's not a squamous. When there is a flat cell, then we are using the word squamous. When these are the cubes, it's just like a cube, equal height and equal width. So we called it stratified cuboidal epithelium. Stratified cuboidal epithelium, right? When your cells are arranged in a layers and cells are in column means when their height is more, like this. So we call it stratified columnar epithelium. Stratified columnar epithelium, right? So again stratified word we are using जब हम लेयर की बात कर रहे हैं. जब लेयर की बात कर रहे हैं तो स्ट्रेटिफाइड वर्ड यूज़ करना है. जब सिंगल लेयर की बात कर रहे हैं तो वर्ड यूज़ करना है सिंपल. अगर फ्लैट सेल हैं तो हम उनको बोलेंगे स्क्वेमस. तो इट्स ए सिंपल, एक लेयर है, सिंगल लेयर है, तो सिंपल स्क्वेमस एपिथेलियम. क्यूबाइडल सेल्स, इक्वल हाइट और इक्वल विड्थ वाले सेल्स अगर टाइटली ज्वाइन टुगेदर हैं, ऑल दी सेल्स आर सिटिंग ऑन द बेसमेंट मेम्ब्रेन, दैट वी कॉल सिंपल क्यूबाइडल एपिथेलियम. कॉलमिनर सेल्स वो हुए जिनकी हाइट ज़्यादा है, तो वो सेल्स अगर टाइटली ज्वाइन टुगेदर हैं तो उस तरह के एपिथेलियम को हम बोलते हैं सिंपल कॉलमिनर एपिथेलियम. पर जब यही लेयर्स कैन बी इन मल्टीपल लेयर्स एज वेल, तो मल्टीपल लेयर्स में जब होंगे स्क्वेमस सेल, देन वी आर यूजिंग द वर्ड स्ट्रेटिफाइड स्क्वेमस एपिथेलियम. क्यूबाइडल है तो स्ट्रेटिफाइड क्यूबाइडल एपिथेलियम. दिस वन इज कॉलमिनर, देन इट बी कॉल्ड स्ट्रेटिफाइड columnar epithelium. So these are the different types of epithelium based on the shape and based on the layers of the cells. Then there is another type of epitheliums that will be called so this is just like this. Cells are arranged. For example, it looks like this. This is the epithelium, right? It looks like stratified. When you see under microscope, you will observe like it's in layer, but actually it's not in layer. It looks like in layer because cells are in unequal sizes, and due to that it looks like in layer, but it's not in layer, it's in a simple. So this type of epithelium we call pseudo stratified epithelium. Pseudo stratified epithelium. Pseudo stratified epithelium, right? Pseudo means wrong क्या? Wrong stratified means लग तो रहा है, जब आप माइक्रोस्कोप में देखोगे तो लगेगा कि दो लेयर हैं या लेयर्स में है, बट एक्चुअल में लेयर में नहीं है. वो लेयर में दिख रहा है क्योंकि कुछ सेल्स छोटे साइज के हैं, कुछ बड़े साइज के हैं, कुछ छोटे के हैं, कुछ बड़े के हैं. तो उस तरह के एपिथेलियम को हम बोलते हैं, वर्ड यूज करते हैं सूडो. सूडो मीन्स रॉन्ग क्या है? स्ट्रेटिफाइड. Pseudo stratified epithelium. This kind of epithelium we call pseudo stratified epithelium. There is another epithelium which is particularly will seen in the urethra, that is we call transitional epithelium. So what is transitional epithelium? Transitional epithelium. Transitional epithelium is the epithelium which will change the layers. So when your urethra is filled, when your urethra is filled with the urine, so what will happen? Your layer will more or less? Your layers will be more. Your layers will be less because there is a stretch on the cells and your layers will become less. So right, for example, this is your cells. So when your urethra is filled with the urine, so your layers will be less. When you done the urine, so your urethra has been empty, so in that case your layers will be increased, right? Now there is no stress, so your layer is increased. However, there is equal number of cells, when you are putting the pressure, and who is putting the pressure? Pressure कहाँ से पड़ रहा है? जब आपका यूरिनरी ब्लैडर जो है वो यूरिन से भरा हुआ है, तो ये सेल्स क्या होंगे, इनकी लेयर कम हो जाएगी, क्योंकि भरा हुआ है यूरिन के साथ, तो वो प्रेशर मारेगा तो ये थोड़ा सा लेयर्स ऐसे फ्लैट हो जाएगी, तो लेयर्स कम हो गई। पर जब आपने यूरिन कर लिया तो उसके बाद आपका यूरिनरी ब्लैडर एम्प्टी हो गया, तो उसके बाद लेयर्स आपकी इंक्रीज हो जाएंगी। दिस टाइप ऑफ एपिथेलियम वी कॉल ट्रांजिशनल एपिथेलियम। ट्रांजिशनल, it's changing, transitional epithelium, right? So what we have studied so far, we are studying about the tissues, or tissues में particular epithelial tissues. So important point which we have covered so far is epithelial tissues is covering the lining, covers the lining of the bodies, internal and externals, right? Basic special feature of the epithelium is there is a tightly joined together cells, right? Opposed to each others, tightly joined together, और क्या कौन ज्वाइन कर रहा है? सेल्स, राइट? देन another features, another things which we have studied is based on the layers, or so your gland also covered with the epithelium, right? Your body surfaces are covered, your cardiovascular system is covered with the epithelium that we call endothelium, right? So your glands are also covered with the epitheliums. Your cavities, body cavities are also covered. Body cavities are also covered with the epithelium. So body cavities, your pleural cavity. Pleural cavity is related to your respiratory systems. Peritoneal cavity. Peritoneal cavity of the body, that is related to your GIT systems, and your pericardial cavity. Pericardial cavity related to your cardiovascular, right? So these all cavities are covered by the epithelium, right? Your body tubes are also covered with the epithelium. Body tubes are those which connect from internal to external, like your respiratory systems, like your GIT, right? Like your urethral systems. So these are the body tubes which are connecting from internal to external part, right? So that are also covered with the epithelium, right? So these all means, and another types of epithelium we have already discussed. There is a single layer, it can be multiple layer. If it's a flat cell, then we call squamous epithelium. If it's a cuboidal, then we call simple cuboidal. If it's a columnar, means height is more, that kind of cells we call columnar. So that will be your simple columnar epithelium. If it's in a multiple layers, another one important thing I forget to mention is, for examples, these are your basement membrane, and it contains the layers of flat cells, right? So it's a simple squamous epithelium, but now another layer is also there. Now in between there is a layer of another types of cells, and these cells are cuboidal, right? Then there is another layer is like this. So cells can have a different, it's not like that if you have a layer then it should always have the flat cell only. No, it can be mixed as well. So how to name this type of epithelium, right? So in such type, what you have to see? You have to see the upper layer. So upper layer is which one? Upper layer is your columnar epithelium. So it's a stratified columnar epithelium. So always you have to look for the upper layer. So if someone asks you to name this, so it's a stratified columnar epithelium, right? So in this case आपको सबसे ऊपर वाली लेयर देखनी है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल ऊपर वाली लेयर इसके ऊपर ये वाली है फ्लैट सेल की, तो इसका नाम क्या हो जाएगा? स्ट्रेटिफाइड स्क्वेमस एपिथेलियम, क्योंकि फ्लैट सेल की लेयर सबसे ऊपर है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इसके ऊपर एक और लेयर है जो ये है cuboidal. So this name of this will be stratified cuboidal epithelium. Got it? So this is about your epithelial tissues, right? So this is all about epithelial tissues. Next video we will discuss about connective tissues. Thank you.